Hello, everyone. Hi, Carol from Ontario. I read that upside down because I was standing up and I kind of leaned over and I thought it said Orlando, but I don't think I had my reading glasses on at the time either. That's crazy. Craziness. Where's everyone from? Let me know. Yeah, and if you're tuning in like later and watching, let me know where you're from. There's not the live comments, but there's always comments on Facebook. Or oh my gosh, YouTube. Used to live streaming from YouTube, used to doing Facebook, not YouTube. Oh my gosh, getting tongue tied there. Hi Judy, you're back from Portage. You dug out of the snow and the cold just to come online. I know, it's nice that you can be from your own home. Hi Liz. Hi, hi Mary Jo. And yeah, Portage la Prairie is like really, really cold. In case you're wondering why I made that comment, it's super cold out there on the prairies. And if you're from the States, it's like, north of Minnesota, which is really cold. Yes. All the cold stuff. And I think Oregon's there too, isn't it? I'm not sure. I can't remember. Anyway, I hope everybody's staying safe in the winter and the cold and the we're having a yucky winter here. It's like it's a mild winter, which is still cold, but it's not nice because it's mild and slushy and rainy and cold and damp and not nice at all. Yeah, and we haven't seen the sun much at all this winter in this area. Usually we get crisp cold weather and then we see the sun, which is nice. So yeah, otherwise we get cloud and fog and blah, and it makes the snow messy. Oh yeah, you didn't have free Wednesdays. Okay. So I haven't done this polar bear in a long time. It's actually good that, Facebook is making me, Facebook deleting all my emails or Facebook deleting all my videos is kind of good because then I get to do them all over again and kind of with fresh eyes. So it's been a while since I did this. I don't even remember if I did do it on Facebook Live. I must have. And it's been a long time since I've done this in person. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think. Probably 8 or 9 years since I did it in person. I didn't repeat them very often when I did them in person because I had, it's a small town, so I didn't want to flood the market and repeating everything all the time. So this is just kind of fun and simple. And I'm going to, because I said primary colors, now you could use magenta, like pink and purple and blue in the background, but I'm just going to go for red and blue. I'm going to use my phthalo blue and my naphthol red, which is still pretty much like a primary red. It's a nice red, and I'm going to use, like, that's just for the background, and I'm going to use a little bit of white in the middle, which I didn't in this one. So you can see, like, behind the stars, I just left it kind of like a dark magenta. You can kind of see it reflecting a little, and I used a metallic magenta as well in under, I think, I'm trying to look. Okay. Oh, and I had this extreme glitter stuff. Oh, I didn't use it again. I don't know if you can see it. It's like, and it was really toxic. I don't know if you can see it. If you get close, I don't know. It's like, it's really pretty, but it was really kind of, you opened it and the smell was outrageous. So I had a metallic, for the stars, I kind of built up the stars. I used coarse brush, and then I used a finer brush to go to the whiter stars, and I used like like a pearl, like an iridescent or metallic pearl color, anything light in color, which will work. But if you don't have any metallics or anything like that, just use regular white paint. It's fine. Hi, Janet from Maberly. Yes. Oh, you're really out in the country, Janet, so you're going to get snowed in tomorrow morning. Here the plows go by. I'm right in town in Carleton Place, so yeah, you're will be cleaned out pretty quickly. It's going to be a heavy snow tomorrow because it's mild, so the snow is heavier. I have a contractor to do my driveway because there's no way I could do it because my boys don't live with me anymore. I used to get them to work. And for the bear, you might need a little bit of brown because polar bears aren't 100% white. So I used a little bit of brown. Now you can use black. If you don't have a brown, I will show you how to mix it because I always say use primary colors. So I will mix it for you. You just need a little bit of yellow because you're already having you have red and blue. So you just need a little bit of yellow and that will make a brown. So all three colors will make brown. I did not use black in this. It looks like it because the blue dries really dark in that background. It goes really dark. So let's get to it. Stop chatting, Janet. And here we go. But if you're, as you sign in, let me know. And yeah. Oh, I didn't take the plastic off. I was like, why is that canvas so shiny? These are always, the flat ones are really hard to get the plastic off because it's like almost stuck to it and you need scissors or a knife. And then even if you catch it, it's like it still gets caught in the corners. All right, well, I struggle with this. Maybe play some elevator music. Hum a little song in your head. Oh my gosh. Do. There we go. I got it open. Yeah, so I use a flat canvas. If you're using paper, whenever I say to use water with paper, like if you're using a heavy watercolor paper, when I say to use water, use a lot less water because that paper is really going to absorb that water. We still want to sometimes stretch out the paint, but just use a lot less water and a little more of the actual paint. And then if you want to lighten it, use white because sometimes I use water to lighten the paint. Yeah, so here we go. I'm going to get my palette ready. Get my red. This is a really pretty red. I can't get it in the gallon jug anymore, so I don't really buy it much. It's like a real Christmassy red. It's really nice. So I don't use it when I'm doing my in-person ones. And so it will, because it's such a nice Christmassy red, it's going to go nice and pinky. And then I'm going to get out my blue. So for now, that's all I'm going to use. And a little bit of white on my canvas. So I got my phthalo blue. You could use ultramarine. It doesn't matter. I'm just letting you know which one I'm using. Because sometimes people say, oh, that color doesn't look the same as mine. But also your camera and my camera will pick up different colors. So the transition through the internet, it's going to be different. Some people just like, which blue are you using? I'm like, I could have used ultramarine on this one. I don't know. Because it's so dark, but the purple is also incredibly dark. And I'm going to get some white. And so I'm not mixing brown for a while. I'm just using this. I'm just using these two colors and white. White is light. And there we go. So, oh boy, my nose is itchy. I'm probably going to sneeze. as soon as I start live streaming, sometimes I start sneezing. This is crazy weather, even though there's no pollen out right now. There's just like, there's molds and mildew and blah, all kinds of things. And then, just like before, these are the only brushes I'm using. Okay. And I will use like the back of my, actually you can see it's covered in paint, the very tip for the stars. Also for that big kind of pointy star. Now some people really like to do a second bear, like a little baby bear. I might do that here because this is a fairly simplistic painting, so it takes a while. So I might show you kind of the proportions. Because some people kind of like the idea of that bear, you know, with its kid, you know, mama bear with the baby. It's kind of nice. Stargazing. It looks pretty and it gives a little more dimension to the painting. So we're going to paint, if you'll notice, this is on an angle. Okay, so your brush stroke is going to go on an angle. Now some people, they end up going on an angle and they end up curving their hand. Okay, use your shoulder to go on that angle. Okay, because otherwise you won't get that sort of, if you're looking for that straight triangular line. Also, they kind of do this and then they forget over here. So we do want a fairly straight landscape. There's not a lot of mountains in the Arctic. It's fairly straight, but this is the snow, like, so it's not super straight, but it's fairly straight. So I also, guidelines help. Okay. So guidelines will help you. I'm going to take a tiny bit of that red on my big brush. Always use the big brush to start. I'm going to come back a bit so I can get that whole painting in. Just a second. My computer's not balanced. I usually have it sitting on top of empty tape rolls. So I've got 3, like a little tripod, because otherwise, also the air gets under the computer, but otherwise I'm just afraid of spilling any water, and you know, this way it'll all slide under and get the tape rolls covered instead of me, instead of my computer. Okay, so roughly a little bit more, let's say a little bit more than a third of the way up, we want our horizon. Okay, so roughly, like, I don't know, like here's a third. This is a different size canvas, so a third is different there. But let's say, like right about here. So I'm just going to give myself some dotted lines so I know I'm going to come down to there. Because what you don't want to do is have a straight across line, because that's just going to be mounds of snow. Okay? I don't need to see your guideline from space. People get worried and they get this straight guideline going. This is just to know where you are, where you're going, you know. And then what we want to do is like, so that we know to cover that corner and keep that brush stroke the same. So when you come down to here, what you're going to do is go over the guideline. So you're going to go over the guideline, because then the snow is going to kind of just gently mound up and go over that edge. Instead of finishing that, we're going to do the snow to finish it. So you see it's going to cut off any kind of jagged line. So leave those lines jagged as you cross your finish line, kind of thing. Not finish line, your guideline. Okay, now we do have our water. We're going to use a little bit of water, not a lot of water, to thin the paint. So I don't want to thin it as much, as sometimes I'll thin it more, but keep your brush dry. Keep that brush dry, and then we are going to take a little bit of thinning as we go. Okay, so water is going to thin the paint just like you would use oil or turpentine to thin oil paint. So water is your paint thinner. Okay, so I'm dipping dry brush, dry paint. Well, the paint is kind of wet. This is a heavy bodied acrylic. And I'm gonna start, this is kind of my center. So you see, I'm just doing these simple flicky brush strokes, holding my brush the fat way. Just these simple flicky brush strokes. What that's doing, and I'm trying to keep them fairly straight. I'm trying not to curve them. Then I'm going to pick up more of my red and start from the other side. And I'm going to go through, and I'm using my shoulder, not my elbow, to curve. So notice the canvas isn't all filled in yet. Okay, not filled in yet. We're not finished. Also, now what I want to do is I just want to go over this with a little hint of water on my brush, because then that's going to blend a little better with my white and my blue to make it kind of purpley. Okay, so I'm going to take the tiniest bit of water, meaning I'm just going to break the surface tension of the water, the meniscus, which is also the thing that we hurt with our knee. And I'm just going to go through just to kind of wet that paint a little bit more. A little. Then I'm going to take some white without cleaning my brush. No washing your brush. Don't admit to me later that you washed your brush, because then your painting's not going to work out right, because I'm not looking for pure white. I want to go a little bit more pinky. So I'm going to touch my white on the edge. I don't need to dip in the center. That way I can leave some white nice and clean if I do want clean white. I might not. So see, I'm just going to come through the same with a bit of white. So that little bit of wet that we put on our paint is going to help that white blend in and go pinker. Okay. So I'm just looking for a little bit of pink, not too much. Okay, that little bit of titanium white is really going pink. Okay, now I'm looking to extend. Before I add blue, blue is going to dry really dark. Even though this is phthalo blue and it has a teal, it's going to dry really dark. And then I won't see too much purple. So you only want to use a tiny bit of blue. I'm not mixing it on my palette. I haven't gone near my blue on my palette. So I'm going to extend a little more red this way. Okay. Kind of going, I'm feathering into my pinker area. Okay. And I'm not filling in. This is just getting a nice stylized. Now I'm picking up more red. I'm going into my pink area. Okay. And here we go. So I've kind of left some areas over here. I've got pinky from here to here. Now I'm going to take the tiniest bit of blue without cleaning that brush. I want it to blend. The blue and the red is going to make a little purple, right? So I'm taking a tiny bit of blue at a time and I'm pulling in. Notice how dark that's going. So I'm pulling in from the side and letting it kind of feather. See, I'm just letting it lift off. Okay, so feathering is just kind of like the way a airplane takes off. It just kind of feathers in. So you see, you get that feathery edge instead of a hard edge. I'm not going far into middle because that blue is really dark. Okay, I'm just taking a tiny bit of blue at a time. Notice I'm just rimming. Now it's curling on the edge. Then I usually get a bunch there and I catch it. So a tiny bit up here. Now notice I'm not closing in on that pink part yet. I do want to get some of this purple streaks going through, but I'm going really carefully with that blue because blue takes over. Coming up this way. Okay, this is the night sky over here as well. And see, I'm framing this part as well. So this is kind of maybe the Milky Way going through that pinky part. The pink Milky Way, because it's my painting. I can call it whatever I want. So you see, I'm just coming up from my guidelines, but I'm making sure to go over it a bit. So you see how much darker that blue is? Crazy, right? So we're pretty much done with blue. I just took out way too much out of my pot. Way too much. Okay, so I've got some blue on my palette, on my paintbrush, which is great. So now we're switching back to that red or pink, whichever one you're using. If you're using magenta, that's great. But I'm using my primary red. And now I'm going to kind of cover that, covering the blue, and see it's going dark, dark, dark purple. And I'm just going to use my brush the thin way now. So I'm using it thin and kind of angled the same way. So angled, like if it was like that would be thin going up and down, thin going on the angle, using lots of my red. And I'm bringing a few little brush strokes kind of crossing over that pink, but I'm always kind of starting from that edge. Okay, so I'm crossing over that pink a little bit, very subtle. It's that feather, it's that lift off. I'll show you slow. You're just lifting off gently. Your brush is at a 90-degree angle to your canvas. All bristles engaged. You're not tilting this way, straight up and down, and like that. And the lead bristles are the one taking off first. Take off, the Great White North. I guess I have to say that because I'm Canadian. If you're just tuning in from anywhere in the world and you don't know me, I'm Janet from Canada, and I started live streaming during the pandemic on Facebook, and then I'm going to do the same with the other side. Okay, I'm going to do the same with the other side with my red. Okay, I've used up a lot of red, so you'll notice just how quickly that blue takes over. I'm always starting my brushstroke from the edge and going through. Lots more red now. Losing my red. I don't want to pick up. It's kind of covering the blue and giving it that soft feel. I want to get it a bit softer there. There we go. I'm going over my guideline. There. Now I got the perfect way for my Milky Way. The perfect way. And now with what's left on my brush, just with what's left on my brush, what I'm going to do is put a few soft, so it's kind of like the very, very, very background. Very, very, very background. Okay, just a few soft brush strokes, soft mounds. This isn't a wave. Soft mounds back and forth. I'm just emptying my brush. I've still got a lot of paint on, so I'm going to empty it some more on a piece of paper towel, because that is just a little too much. So I'm just going to empty it. I'm just patting it. I'm not trying to clean it because I still want some of that on there. And I'm going to take a little bit of white, and I'm going to, I don't know if I'm going to streak more through the sky. I'm kind of liking the sky the way it is, but it is looking kind of dark in spots. So I might even take a little bit of barely kind of touching just a few, kind of with my brush the thin way. I might take a few streaks. See, I'm just kind of letting the white fall off. Now that's too white for the night sky. I didn't use much. This is titanium white. It almost looks like shooting stars. Then, with just the weight of the brush, I'm going to pull through those streaks that I just kind of, just with the weight of the brush, no pressure. See how it just gives a little bit more of a streaky feel? I'm going to do the same up here in the corner because I like that effect. Just a tiny touch here. And then I'm going to let my brush go the fat way and just kind of gently, the weight of the brush, no pressure, go through one time of each of those kind of white streaks. And you get these beautiful kind of streaky bits. I'm going to go one time through that one because it was just a bit too white. Titanium white can be super white. And then I'm going to do my snow with a little bit of white. So now I'm going to do that kind of snowdrift at the back. It's going to be darker because it's further back, right? It's going to be darker with it further back. Then, and these are just softly, now you can use your wrist and your elbow to get a soft mound. This is not the foreground drift. The foreground drift right in front of the bear is going to be the last thing we do, and it comes after the bear. But we do want to get a base coat, which is kind of the shadows in the snow. I want a little bit more blue in that shadow, so I put a tiny bit of blue in. And I can just, you don't have to fill in. I'm going to take a tiny bit of water to stretch the paint. Tiny bit. Just because I don't need the paint super thick here. And this is just the shadows of the underground snow. Okay, and I might put a little extra white near the sky of that drip. So I'm just going to hold my brush, kind of letting it almost fall off near the sky, but I don't want it super white near there because I just want to get a nice drift going because some of it looks a little bit too straight. There we go. Just a soft drift. There we go. That doesn't look so straight. Keep in mind you don't want things looking straight all the time and lined up perfectly, okay? Now we are done with that big brush. And now sometimes I do the stars at the very end. I'm going to bring a little bit of that white through here since I've got a little bit on my brush. Just a little hint. I don't know if I like it, but I just have a little, just a hint left on my brush, so it's kind of, it's hard to tell because the paint is wet, so it has a bit of a gloss to it, like more of a gloss to it when it's wet. We're done with the big brush. So put that in water now. Now you can wash your brush, Rhonda. She was always asking me when she first started painting with me on Zoom. Yeah, so if anybody wants to paint with me on Zoom, so then I can see your work and critique you. I'm not criticizing, critiquing in real time so that, you know, you get feedback, right? Because that's part of learning, is getting feedback from the teacher in real time, and I can see you and answer questions in real time and see what you're doing. It's $100 for the Zoom class. It's 6-week watercolor class starting on Monday, this coming Monday, the 19th, I believe. And yeah, so only $100 for the 6 classes. And so that if you know, if you can't make one, you're not out a lot of money or anything like that. And so now we're going to get those stars in there because I want the bear in front of the stars. So usually I wait till the end to get those stars done, but I want to get lots of these stars in there. And so that I'm not trying to fill in stars next to the body, and I don't have, some of you will leave literally like a 1/2 inch blank around the body once you've done your bear. So you're terrified to go near your bear, and then that looks weird. So where are my paints here? Okay. I have. So I have some I'm trying to think where am I? Oh, here we are. I was using the metallics before Christmas. Okay, so sometimes I use my thicker ones, sometimes I don't, but I want to have purple, pink, and white stars. So if you don't have metallics in those colors, or metallic or iridescent, same thing, then just use whatever you've got. Okay, there's my pink, and you could use whatever you've got in metallic. It's going to look really pretty, or just use white, titanium white. Okay, and so I'm starting with the darker color. My darker purple. And you don't need a lot of it. See, I just put a little bit on there. And these are just literally, they're folk art. You can get them in Michael's. I buy them usually from Desserts. I buy them sometimes from Amazon because I can get like a whole set of all the colors from Amazon because I use them a lot, especially at Christmas. And I think you can get them in Walmart. You can get them pretty much any art store. There's different brands. One is folk art. One is Dazzling Metallics. Lots, different kind of brands. And so I'm going to use the back of the brush. I'm going to use this brush just because I don't want to get it on that brush that I'm going to use later. So I'm going to use that 1 inch. So I want to get lots and lots and lots of my it drives me crazy when these rattle because I've got so many different heights going on my desk because I've got dried paint on here, and plus the easels are a little warped. There we go. And I'm going to keep my palette close because I want to use lots and lots and lots. And I'm going to stay a few going off, but I want lots kind of in that Milky Way center. Usually 3 dots per dip will get you. So lots and lots and lots. So make yourself comfortable. I'm going to sit down for this. Usually I'm standing, but I'm going to hold that. Now the canvas itself is rattling on the thing because I'm dotting. If you're using kind of the edge of the brush, you can get tinier ones. Like kind of touching like that and straight on. Now I'm just going to turn it and look a little more for me. It's all about me. Now these tend to be a little more liquidy. That's why you only want to do dots because they can drip. And then, you want a concentration, like even with the Milky Way that we see from Earth because we are in that galaxy. We see parts of it from Earth because we're inside the galaxy. We and go right to the edge, but there's still stars outside the main part of the Milky Way. So you don't want to you want a concentration there, but you still want the odd one out there. And whenever we do dots, I can tell all of you guys who have OCD tendencies, I don't want to say OCD. I don't want to negate the importance of people who do indeed have a diagnosed OCD, because I've, you know, but some OCD tendencies, I'll see literally like dots thoughtfully spaced out almost exactly the same distance. So notice I'm just kind of randomly dotting as opposed to dot, dot, dot. That way, see, even when I did that, I ended up with them really almost evenly spaced out. That's not how stars occur. Coming right down to that horizon, okay? We want to have them, because they go down below the horizon. Then you want to make sure to, like, you want to aim a bit more, so you make sure to get that horizon right where the Milky Way is going. Okay? And let's see, I do have a drip there, but that's okay. It'll be a dripping star, like a shooting star. And then I'm going to go for pink. It's really hard to kind of see these stars because the purple is a little bit dark, even in the metallic, but it will dry more shiny. I mean, it's shiny because it's wet right now, but it'll dry a bit more shiny too. I'm going to go for pink. I am literally, I'm not wasting my metallic. I'm going to pour the pink right on top of the purple. That way I'll end up getting, you know, different prettiness. Oh, it's spinning. It's almost finished. There we go. And you don't need much again, but you'll notice that, you know, you'll probably, as you go to a lighter color, you're going to want more of those stars. And you know, and I'm not thinking if I go over top of another star, that's fine. Like a lot of stars occur like that. Like Sirius is actually 2 stars. The Pleiadians star sisters, the Pleiades, they're like, oh my God, some of the stars are literally, that you see, are a concentration of 4 stars. So they can be over top of each other, they can be beside each other, they can be all over the place. So, and then again, I want to make sure to get more at that horizon with the pink. If you want to do pink and white stars, then just kind of dip alternately in your pink and white. Okay, if you don't have metallics, if you just, it doesn't matter which one you dip in first, but just kind of alternate so that you get a little, you're not mixing to make a light pink, and then you get different tones for your stars, and it's almost like your stars are twinkling. We want twinkly stars. Don't make me break out into song. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Oh my gosh. You're crazy. Okay, that's too much reach. I sat down with this thought that my arms were longer than they were to make myself comfortable. Because I said, make yourself comfortable. So I thought that applied to me too. Okay, here we go. You can make a Big Dipper. The Great Bear. So some of you are probably watching from, maybe, I used to get a lot of people from the Southern Hemisphere, South Africa, New Zealand. And they would not see Orion or the Big Dipper, I don't believe. They could see the Southern Cross. Here's another song. Crosby, Stills and Nash, David Crosby, Southern Cross. When you see the Southern Cross for the first time. Okay, don't make me sing. You guys made me sing again. So many songs about stars, right? They're just so dreamy. Okay, almost done. Oh my gosh, this is taking forever. Okay, and white. I want my white. This is pearl white. Most of the whites are pretty translucent, so they call them pearl white. And here, oops, shoot. I put my actual piece of the brush part in there. Drive you crazy. Not the other end. I didn't want that much. It's picking up too much paint. Okay, there we go. So we're going to see a lot more of this. Forgive my rattling. Rattle, rattle. I'm going to just try to break up that drip. There was a drip there, so I'm just going to make a concentration of stars right there. The white stands out a lot more, and then you can really tell where your stars are. But when it dries, you really see the gloss from all the different textures of the paint. Oh, there's a massive drip. I really don't want that. Oh my gosh. Janet. I tried to take too much paint. I got greedy. I might use the brush end because it's going to not drip so much. Because I've got some finer bits there. And it's going to hold a bit more paint. There we go, and it rattles less, softer. There we go. I think that's good. And to do this star, I'm going to show you on a piece of paper or a piece of scrap paper, and oops. This is just a piece of scrap, but it's blue. I'm going to put a glob of paint kind of in the center. Okay, now I'm going to pull. I'm not going to cross over it, but I'm not going to pull from the other side of it. So I'll show you with a really big glob, okay? So I'm starting in the center of my glob, pulling out with the handle of my brush. Center of glob, pulling out. So I'm not starting on the other side of the glob, pulling out. Starting always in the center of the glob and pull out. And there's your nice North Star, your guidance. Your guiding light. The North Star is a big navigational tool. Also, the tool that led, the navigational tool for Polaris that led the slaves to freedom. They would say, follow the North Star. Okay, I'm going to wipe that off. That was titanium white I was using. So I'm just wiping my brush off from the titanium white. And I don't want this to drip. So I'm going to kind of make my glob kind of like flat a little bit. I'm going to use that brush side. And I got a little bit of pink in it. That's fine. And then use the handle and pull out. And then leave it alone. I might put a little bit of extra white in there in the center, and that's it. Really pretty. It looks like there's going to be a drip drip there, so I'm going to push back on it. Just don't want it to drip too much. I have some other metallics that are quite drippy, so you got to use them a bit thinner. Perfect. Perfectamundo. Now we're going to do the polar bear. Really simple. Doesn't take too long. It's because he's looking the other way, right? So he just kind of looks. When you're doing the face of an animal, this is kind of like a reverse silhouette. It's like, kind of like the light, but we still want to get the fur idea of him going on. I'm going to show you, I'm going to draw it out using a Sharpie instead of painting on the scrap paper, because you can really see the white on here. And I'll use like just kind of generally how we're going to attack our bear. So from the center, like from the middle of his head downward, we're going to do like a fairly thin triangle, because we can make it fatter. It's just harder to go thinner, and then refill in your background. Okay. So I'm going to make a fairly thin triangle. Not super thin, just like maybe this length is twice, like this length is twice this length. Okay, just not like an arrow, like not, I guess that's like an arrowhead kind of roughly. So it's not super thin, but it's not fat, right? That's the first thing we're going to do. Okay, then we're going to go and adjust that a little bit. The sort of where you see the indent in the head. Now, I kind of overdid the indent to make it almost look heart-like. Most animals have that sort of slight indent because their heads are kind of a little bit more on the square side. He's kind of looking up. So that little, I kind of exaggerated. I felt it like kind of looked like a heart almost. And then polar bears have really teeny ears. I made the ears a little bit bigger because I thought it made them cuter. Okay? Because, we all want to snuggle a polar bear. We don't get a chance to in the wild. I would not recommend it if you're visiting the north of Canada or Greenland. I would not recommend hugging a polar bear. If friend shape, why not friend? Honest to God. Okay, so this is sort of the tip of our triangle. Okay, and we want it to go off to the side a bit. So this side is going to stay that way. Okay, and sort of the head is small. So we're just going to sort of do like a little heart up there. A little kind of a heart up there. Okay, then we're just going to bring this side down a little bit smoother here, and then like halfway from the head down to here, it's like the shoulder and then the haunches. Just a tiny curve out, not a lot. Then a tiny curve here. So we're just kind of curving out that edge because he's glancing that way, but then there'll be more of a hump here. So then what we're going to do is bring this, so you see we did that. Then we're going to bring this side down more that way. Then we're going to extend more that way and fill in and have a nice round, big round bum because he's stored a lot of fat for the winter. Okay, so the curves, so this side is more subtle because he's looking that way. And then this side ends up exaggerating more on that side of the triangle. And then the little ears kind of come in the middle, and they're so cute. Okay. And don't outline with white. What we're going to do is literally fill in as we go, because you'll see the outline. It's going to dry differently. So we fill in as we go with white. Your white is going to start to look pink. It's going to look purple. That's fine. This is just literally like an undercoat. It is not an outline. It's like an undercoat. So you're doing the whole thing. Okay, so get a guideline. I want the top of his head or her head. Maybe she's a mom if you want to do the second polar bear. You could do the second polar bear on your own. Okay, but I'll help you. Oh my gosh, I'm so good to you. So there's the top of the head, okay? Because he's looking at that's the top. So I've given you a big guideline so you can see through my stars. You don't need a big guideline. I don't need to see your guideline from space. Then I want his rump or her rump here, because we know she's a mommy because she's going to have a baby with her. The daddies don't hang out with the babies. They're not, they haven't got into the feminist side of their existence yet, the divine feminine. Okay, that's the bottom of the triangle, okay? So here we go. Nice triangle. Put pressure. We are filling in. We're not doing this little outline. Filling in as we go. There's our outline. You don't need to go over and over this. You're going to end up getting all those colors from underneath in there. That's not cool. Okay? And we are going to go over it to make it look a bit furry, so we're not finished. People tend to think, oh God, I got to get this perfect outline. Especially if you've got a thin paint, you're not going to get a perfect white. You can see, and the brown kind of gives it a little bit of a, and a little bit of a feel. But as we get to that fur part, it's going to dry a bit. So then we're not going to pull out that undercoat. Plus, everything reflects everything around it. Polar bears are not actually white. They're reflecting a lot of the white of the snow. They are actually a beige color. Okay, but they're reflecting so much white and the protein in their fur. So, okay, let's do our little hat, our little heart hat. So I'm pushing, get more paint, because then you're going to get a nice sharp edge. There's our nice little heart head. And then we're coming down, and I'm just going to I'm just pushing out a little bit on that side, remember? Just a little bit. And then, see, I'm pushing my paint out. I'm not trying to pull paint out. And see, I've got this nice edge now. I'm picking up paint for every single brush stroke I do, so I get that crisp outer edge, although we're going to have fur on it. Then we want to bring that side over this way a bit more with the head, because it's shoulder, like it's blending with the shoulder the way it's turning. And then a little bit more out here, coming down to that same spot. And then the rump, because it's sitting kind of facing that way, so more of the rump is going to be over here. And there we go. Beauty. I'm not going to do the little ears yet. Actually, I might use a tiny brush for the ears. I'm sorry if I didn't say use a tiny brush, but you don't need much. You just need, like, this is just a dollar store brush. It's not a perfect brush. It's just small. Okay. I don't need the ears yet. Leave that alone. Let's do the same thing for a little baby bear. The baby bear can be stout, and it can be a little more And just leave those brush strokes in there because because your brush strokes are going up and down, it's going to look more like fur. See, it just looks like fur. And we're going to go over that with white. So let's do, I'm going to bring the rump in a bit because the baby bear might be sitting just slightly in front of the mama because she was watching him. She watching him like a hawk, right? I want to watch those babies. And maybe just partial size there. There we go. Triangle. Fill in, not an outline. It's an undercoat, not an outline. Okay, and he's going to be a bit fatter. Sometimes the cubs tend to be more rounded. Again, if not friend, why friend shaped? Honest to goodness. And they might even have a rounder head. They might not quite have that heart head, but they still might. And then again, down to halfway, and then that's the shoulders pushing out for the haunches. Because mama's well fed, so we know that baby's well fed. And here we go. And there we go. And we're going to have snowdrifts in front. We got these cute little babies. Well, one baby. If you want to do two, you're on your own. Catch you on the flip side. And don't forget to put pictures on Facebook for me. I posted for tonight's thing, so if you can post pictures under there, that would be fabulous. Yeah. So I am going to use the smaller brush, sorry, for the ears. And so I'm pushing out. I'm not trying to pull paint out. I'm pushing that paint out to get these little ears. They're so cute. They might be a little bit higher on the baby bear. And then mama bear, they're a little bit lower. Baby bear has to grow into his ears. Babies tend to have to grow into their ears. So again, just outline. And I can extend, so that ear looks a little big also because I've got a star on the other side, but it'll dry differently, the star, okay? And now I promised you that I would help you mix brown if you don't have brown. I am going to put this little brush in water because little brushes tend to dry out fast. Just leaving it sitting in water because I will use it to do a little bit of detail in the fur, especially as we get close to the ears. Okay, and I'm going to put this little brush in water too while I mix the paint. I'm not going to wash it because I want the white on there. Now, where did my yellow go? Huh. Oh, there it is. Oh, my primary yellow is downstairs. And I'm not going back downstairs to get it. It's in the basket. It's in the basket to do in-person paints. I'm going to bring it down here. And very little yellow because we only want a little bit of brown to create those shadows. This lemon yellow is really bright, so it's not going to give me the same brown as a primary yellow, which has more gold, is more golden in it. And I always recommend using a popsicle stick to give a little bit of a stir so that you're not getting it gunked up in your brush, you're not wasting paint. So I'm going to look for a slight bit of orange, okay? So that red is really dark comparatively. So you see I've only taken just a tiny bit, the tiniest bit, and I'm just kind of folding it in. So I've got a pale orange, and I'm going to take a little tiny bit of blue. It's probably going to go too green. So if it goes too green, I'm going to take a little bit more red, and it's going to go into a brown red. It's too browny red, so I'm going to but that's okay. Oh, I picked up some more blue. So I'm going to add a little bit more yellow, because if it's too red, again, I want to go a little bit more yellow, just not too much. And there we go. This is going to do it. See, it's got a nice beige feel. And the brown, and they are rather beige-ish. You just don't want super, and I'll show you the color. See, it's like a camel color. And that's okay. You don't have to have, every single brown is different. Every single brown in the dye lot is different. It's like this caramel camel color, and that's good too. Now I need more white because I've used up all my white. It's a winter scene, so you're going to use a lot of white. Probably need to get another gallon of white here soon. So we also need more white for the front drifts, because they're going to sit in front, like one's going to sit in front of the baby and then another one's going to sit in front of the mama. Okay. I'm going to put my yellow away because I don't need it anymore. And if you don't, if you don't really like your brown that you mixed or whatever like that, just use some black. It's not going to hurt anything. Some people might, it just gives a different feel to the painting. And okay, let's rock and roll. Where did my basket go? I want to put things back. Sometimes I put things back, sometimes I don't. There we go. And that little brush, so the little 1-inch brush that I put in water, I'm not cleaning it because I've got white on it. That's fine. It's got a little pink. I'm just going to make sure it's dry. So I'm just pinching it dry. I'm not cleaning it. You don't need to be obsessed with cleaning it. And if it's kind of dryish. So where the rump is bright. Okay, I'm going to just exaggerate the rump here. Okay, there's the rump. Where the rump is bright because it's curving toward us, so it's catching the light. This is very light here. This is the lightest part of our bum, and then we get a little bit of shadow as it curves in, which I don't want to see a line of shadow. That's that brown that we're going to use, just kind of pulling up. Then as the shoulder comes into the rump, it's a little bit shadowed above the rump. Okay, a little bit shadowed above the rump. Same with the neck. So right up from here up. And then there's a tiny bit, like between the shoulder blades, you'll see a little hint of shadow, and that brown is the shadow. Okay. So I'm going to bring, it's very subtle, very subtle. Okay, so here, then the drift is going to cover it. So as we come down, and notice it's not a line across, it's very subtle. And here, just above the rump, sometimes in the center of the rump, like where the shoulders came down, you can have, because there's a little crease in your rump, you might come down a little bit there, slightly to the right. It's not dead center. And then center of the shoulder blades, which is slightly to the right as well. And then above the neck. So you see where it's shadowed there. Okay, very subtle. Very, very subtle. Again, they're very light brown in color. There's spirit bears too that are like almost like an albino bear in the Rockies, in the Rocky Mountains, and they also have like a brownish coat to them too. Some animals that are white um, tend toward blue. There's no such thing as actual white in fur or black. Some tend toward blue, some tend toward brown, some tend toward any points in between that blue brown. But there is blue in brown. Brown is all three colors are used to make brown. So you could use this beige. So I'm going to use this brush the thin way. And I'm going to start low down so that we get used to the way it's doing it, right? So I'm going to start low down. I'm turning my painting slightly. You're going straight on with this brush the thin way. I don't need a perfectly thin brush, and we're just going to pull up. It goes straight on and pulls up. All bristles engaged, pull up. We're not pulling up like this because then that squishes our brush. The second you flatten, like it'll flatten your brush, just the ends of the bristles are making contact. And if you're using a liner brush, tiny brush, you're going to be here for 6 years trying to get that fur going. So you need the paint to help you paint, right? So I'm going to use that little bit of shadow color that I have, okay? I'm going to bring this a bit closer, and I'm going to turn it slightly to the side to show you how. So I'm pulling, see it all, it's straight on, and I'm pulling up a little. All bristles engaged. So all bristles engaged, pulling up. Very subtle. Then I'm actually going to pull down. I'm taking white and I'm going to pull down the same direction. Okay, so this is white, all bristles engaged, straight on, 90 degrees, and then I'm going to rock away. See? The lead bristles are the first ones coming up. You don't tilt like this, then you go thick. Okay, if you tilt like this, that's what happens. That happens. You want to go like that, and you get that furry, feathery end. Okay? And you can, once you get the hang of it, you can go a little bit faster because the fur overlaps. So that's why. Now I was pulling up on the other just to kind of get that shadow in there of the brown. So, and then I'm pulling inward a little bit on the side. I'm using a little bit of, like, I'm going in layers. I'm not doing a straight row across and then another straight row across. You want it all slightly different. Then I'm going to take a little bit more of that brownish color, and kind of do the same brush stroke throughout that bottom area. Get more white. As I go to the top, I'm going to take less and less white. The colors underneath are going to provide a little shadow as well. And then we can kind of go outward with our brush stroke, like tilted outward along that edge. But from a distance, you're going to see the bear as fairly smooth, not like so much fur sticking out. Then as we approach the top of the rump, we're getting a lot. There's no real brown left on our brush as we approach the top of that rump. And it's just the brush stroke is giving us this idea of the bear. See, there's the background color kind of creeping in, which is giving us some more shadow as well. That's perfect. Okay, everything reflects everything else. Then as we get up to here, I'm going to pull down at the base of our shoulders, the base of the back, before we get into that nice curvy rump, that brownish color. It's a different brown than what I used on the other one, and that's fine. Then white. Then we're going in with white, and I'm going to use a little bit more brown kind of going up through the middle, and then lots of white all the way, kind of forcing it outward and then coming back in. but still always that brush is 90 degrees when you start that brush stroke, then it lifts. Okay, and you're always filling with lots of paint because you're going to use, if you're only using the bristles, you're only using the paint from those bristles. You need to dip a lot. Every single time you saw my brush disappear, I was dipping. Okay, every single time. The biggest mistake people make is not using enough of that paint. Just needed a bit of extra weight there. And then here at the neck, at the back of the neck here, we have a little more shadow in the back of the head. And there we go. At the head. It's rattling around. Now I'm going to switch to my little brush. I'm going to go right in front of those ears. Okay, and I'm going to switch to my little brush. I'm going to leave this out because it's got all the paint I need on it. I don't want to wash it off. It's got all the colors I need. So I did have it in water. I want to dry it. Don't need to clean it. I just need to dry it. I'm going to bring this really close. And I'm going to, on the ear part, okay, so bring this closer here, and I'm going to let it autofocus. See, on the ear. You see how it gives you a fine line between the ear and the head? So on the ear part, you're putting a little shadow right up against the head fur. The head fur, sounds funny, the head fur, the boss fur. Right up against there, you're just kind of tapping in a little bit of that shadow, just tapping it in. Okay, it looks like a stripe. So we're going to take some white and mess it up a bit. There. I just don't want it to look like a stripe. And that's it. That's all you want. Okay, same with the baby bear. I'm going to use that brush. Now I'm pulling up on the rump from the very, very base, but always we typically pull down with the fur. I just wanted to get a good base coat on there and make it look kind of jagged as we went up. Okay, so I put the base coat on, the brown coming downward with that, all bristles engaged, down. 1, 2, 3, dip. Sometimes that's 1, 2, 3, dip. 1, 2, 3, dip. Some people go get into the 1, 2, 3 dip without dipping. And I'm going to get a bit more brown to make it a subtle transition there. And then a lot more white as we approach the top of the rump. And you can kind of gob it on. And then as we get to the base of the back, that little hint of brown going into the rump. You don't want to have a stripe. It goes in subtle. It's a subtle change. I know, I always say when you switch color, when you guys switch colors, often I see these stripes of color and I'm like, no, don't show me that stuff, man. Okay. Because his head is so small, I'm going to switch over to the small brush. Okay. Going small. I'm going to get the base of the head. Okay. And then lots of the white. And probably not as much shadow in the ears because they're bigger. Oh my gosh, the ears on babies. Like the ears and eyes, right? They're always bigger. So cute. I mean, it's not much bigger, but it's bigger. And they don't always have to be even. It's like, oh no, that was not even, because the way the head is tilted, it's different. Oh my goodness, my Basset Hound puppy, I always remember that. She passed away several years ago, pre-pandemic, and made the ear too big, but that's all right. I'm just going to extend the head that way. Yeah, and she grew into her ears because bassets have long floppy ears, right? But when they're puppies, their paws, they grow into their paws and grow into their ears. So they're tripping over both their ears and their paws at the same time, and it's just far too cute for words. I want a bit more of that white in the center of that star. It's drying a little dull. Well, it's kind of pinky. I like it. I don't know why I felt the need to fix it. I always tell you guys not to do that. All right, let's rock and roll. Now the drifts. Even if you've got thin paint, you're going to use quite a bit of the paint. And I'm going to tell you to scoop your paint. Scoop it, okay? Then lay it down, pushing into the rump of the baby. See, I'm starting low, and I'm going to lay it down, and I'm going to push into the rump and give it a bit of a drift. So you see my brush is almost flat here, okay? Almost flat, pushing into the rump, and then extending that drift over this way. Then you can kind of, just kind of do that. Take a little hint of water, just a hint of water, even if take a hint of water and just kind of make the paint a little more translucent as it comes down here. So it looks like shadows. That looks awkward because we haven't done the drift for the mama bear yet. Okay, so it's like it's jutting up against her rear end. So now we're going to get more paint and we're going to do another drift. So because we used a little bit of water down here, so we brought out the shadow color. I'm going to start from here, and you see I'm going to turn my brush and have it like kind of pushing into her rump. And I'm going to get more paint and extend that drift off this way. Ever so subtle. You see the shadows when we watered down that drift, the shadow, and then that drift is going over the other drift. Okay, and I'm going to get more paint and extend that drift that way. Okay, and I just want to get that drift there because I'm going to take a little bit of water and go under that drift to blend it into the shadows. Just a little bit of water. Keep the top crisp. A little bit of water is going to give you that shadow. I just had a bunch of paint on, so I didn't want to waste it. Then I'm going to go more paint and have some drifts here. Okay. And that way you've got lots like interesting snow drifts and everything like that in the foreground. You've got shadow. You've got all kinds of stuff going on there. And it's not about covering it all with white again. There's a lot of shadows in the snow. Sometimes when I'm doing them in person, I say, okay, now we're going to do some snow drifts. And they literally will just fill in the entire bottom with straight snow. And it's like, well, why did we do the shadow color? I don't know. Ask them why they do things. And they just, people just, like, you get into this rhythm, right? You get into a rhythm and you kind of forget where you are and you're just kind of enjoying the brush stroke. I'm just going to bring that in there like that. There we go. Cute. And so easy, so simple, so lovely, cute, all that jazz. It's cute, but not too cutesy. I don't like too cutesy. You know me. I'm very serious. You don't like me some serious paintings. I don't like too whimsical. I mean, this is a little bit whimsical, but it's, I don't know. It's nice. So next week is the lovely, another purpley one. Purple and, oh my gosh, I don't know. Purple and black. It's got purple and black in it too, so I'm going to probably use the same Same colors and just a little bit of a different brush stroke. Similar, to get a stylized sky kind of coming into center instead of having the bright go through the center. The bright blasts out from the center. Just different ways of doing little stylized backgrounds. A stylized background is kind of fun for just painting at home, right? We don't have to do perfect realism all the time. So, until we meet again next week. So I've got all my YouTube scheduled until the end of May, because then people, and I probably won't stream during the summer months just because nobody's on. Even though I know you guys access them later, I might do some shorts. I don't know. I still haven't got into the shorts. It's been crazy. I want to do a few shorts, but I have an idea. And now that I've got the idea of how I want to do the shorts, I can't do them any other way because that has to form in my head. And I don't want to create shorts. You can create shorts from these, but I don't know how to do that. And I don't want to learn. Sometimes I just don't want to learn stuff. I've got it figured out the other way. Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for staying till the end. And yeah, thanks. Thanks a million. And I'm going to end the live stream. And Happy New Year. That is a Happy New Year.